Yeah, you mentioned the Middle East, and of course, Antony Blinken is there working overtime diplomatically to try and get a ceasefire. He's been talking to various leaders throughout the area.
Absolutely. And this is something where you see a lot of domestic pressure on Biden. You have from people who consider themselves hawks who want to see the U.S. give more support to Israel. And you have a lot of members of the Democratic base who want Biden to push for a ceasefire, who want Biden and the Democratic administration to push for aiding civilians in Gaza. Obviously, as you know, anyone across the world can see, entire situation is just so unbelievably tragic. And obviously, we all want an immediate end, altogether to all the violence. Obviously, different people from different political standpoints will have different ideas on how to get there. And when you're in Biden's position and you face, tepid approval ratings, it's obviously a huge, you have to counterbalance, different forces. Obviously, this is humanitarian crisis, and that means more than just electoral consequences. But obviously, that's what a lot of the press is thinking is how will this affect 2024?
It does play to his strengths, though, doesn't it? If you look at it politically, if you look at what Joe Biden has basically been strengthened by through the course of his time as a politician.
Definitely. And I think, Biden, obviously, he has been in the Senate originally from, I want to say, 76 to 2008 when he became VP. Usually he took on a foreign affairs portfolio. I believe he was on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So I think at some standpoint, the idea of him being something of like a guiding hand could play to his strengths if he wants to contrast himself with the opposition and paint them as, not being a strong and stable hand in unstable times. I think that would probably be the angle that Biden world and supporters of Biden think would play to his strengths. So I would basically agree with that assessment.
Also, domestically, of course, he's come out saying that Bidenomics is working. Some brighter news on the economy?
Yeah, so the current economic situation is interesting. The U.S. had a quicker, per most conventional economic indicators, the U.S. did have a quicker turnaround post-COVID than most of Western Europe and most industrialized countries. We've mainly seen as a combination of really good economic indicators, such as higher growth than expected per the current GDP projections. We've seen, especially among low-wage workers, the highest disproportionately higher wage increases going to the lowest. But then you have the issue of housing costs and car costs, which are really the two things consumers are most reeling with on the inflation front, even as inflation eases up on other areas like food and other supplies. So a lot of it will just be kind of a test of whether voters value, or rather are more concerned about inflation and, what economists call the price illusion. I don't know if I really agree with that term, but the idea of like, are Americans, even if they feel that their own economic fortunes are better than 4 years ago, will they still be concerned and reeling because of seeing higher costs across the board, even if, their own wages go up with inflation?
There's going to be plenty of subjects that are on the table and at the front of US minds heading to this election 12 months away. What about immigration? That seems to be a real centerpiece.
Definitely. And I think that obviously, you have immigration is obviously such a multifaceted issue when it comes to the idea of securing the border, which is the conservative rallying cry for regarding US Mexico border issues. You have Democrats who want or are concerned with lower levels of legal immigration compared to countries like Canada, which I believe actually exceeded U.S. in terms of attracting skilled immigrants post 2019. So you've had a lot of concern about how that will impact, highly advanced industries like the tech industry. So altogether, I think that immigration concerns could definitely be the prevailing force in 2024, depending on if there's no other overarching issues that could come about. Obviously, like just for example, people didn't expect that the current crisis in the Middle East would take a lot of the attention away from the Ukraine crisis. So yeah, I think that depending on the international standpoint, I could see immigration being the key issue next year.
From your lens, finally, how's the new speaker going?
I think that the new speaker, from my vantage point, if you're Speaker of the House and you're not really subject to that much negative press from either the partisan press or the mainstream press. And the main press is surrounding you is, wow, this guy, we didn't really know who he was until recently. That could probably be seen as a victory. And that's probably what you would want if you're in that position. If there's less scrutiny towards your positions or even how you've maneuvered to get the position, and more so the coverage is just this person came from relative obscurity to take the third highest office in the land. I think that is pretty beneficial, all things considered.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable adage, isn't it? No news is good news sometimes. Aidan, it's always good to chat. We'll do it again soon, huh?
Thank you.